Owners of older, more polluting vehicles will have to pay a charge to drive anywhere in London from this morning. Will Bain is here with that and the rest of the business news. Morning, Will.
Morning, Simon. Morning, Michelle. Yeah, at the stroke of midnight, London's ultra-low emission zone, or ULEZ, as you probably have heard it referred to, expanded to include the whole of the capital, making it the world's largest pollution charging zone. There's going to be plenty of the politics and how it works throughout the programme, but at the centre of this as well, of course, is trying to get people to change the type of vehicles they use. And according to the RAC, nearly 700,000 cars in London are likely to be non-compliant with the new zone, meaning their owners will have to pay £12.50 a day to drive their cars. So what effect is this having, or will this have, on prices for those second-hand vehicles? Fraser Brown is Managing Director at MotorVise car dealership consultancy, works with 26 brands across Europe and 6 of the UK's top dealer groups, so pretty well placed to assess that. Morning, Fraser.
Good morning.
At its heart, this policy is about changing behaviour, isn't it? Are you seeing changing consumer behaviour already?
Well, we are. Most car dealers are very heavily base all of their stocking decisions, in other words, what cars they want to hold in stock, on consumer behaviour, because there's no point stocking cars that people don't want. And what we're seeing already is significant decreases in demand for diesel vehicles inside these low emission zones. So, for example, in Brentford, we're seeing a 44% decrease in the number of diesel cars being stocked.
What does that mean in terms of prices for second-hand cars full stop then?
Well, it means it's becoming more regionalised. So if we look at the areas where the ULEZ zone is about to be expanded, we're starting to see significant changes in variations in what dealers are choosing to stock. So, for example, if you take somewhere like Hinckley, where they're not really impacted by any low emission zones, we're seeing that they're quite happy to stock a significant percentage of diesel cars that perhaps would be the most expensive vehicles, or the vehicles that are most likely to be costly to drive within the ULEZ zone. Whereas in Brentford and other London suburbs that are about to be expanded into this low emission zone, or the ULEZ zone, we're seeing that dealers just don't want to stock those things. So we're seeing significant decrease.
And how long have you seen that going on for, Fraser?
It's been building up for about the last 12 months, but it's taking time to get to a point where we're really seeing consumer behaviour changing. Now, all of these kind of low emission zones, wherever they are in the UK and whatever you want to call them, are having impacts on what dealers are doing. But the biggest issue we're seeing right now is that it's all about penalties for people. So extra charges for driving in these areas. Yeah, you look at it, the biggest issue we have in this country is that we have to move by 2030. All new cars have to be zero emissions. So no internal combustion engines can be sold from 2030 onwards. And as a result of that, we're having to see a wholesale change within our industry.
And are you seeing that at your dealerships? Are people looking for EVs and hybrids at the type of numbers that would need to be done to meet that transition?
They are, but then you look at people, let's think about the everyday person. It's okay for people like me that own a company and I can afford to go and spend a significant amount of money on an electric vehicle. But then look at people that live in a terraced house or a flat. They do not have access to overnight domestic charging, so they're unable to benefit from driving an electric vehicle. If you go and charge an electric vehicle at a public charging point, it could cost you 75 pence a kilowatt, which could cost you £75 to fill a car up. If you charge it overnight in a domestic supply, it can cost you 7.5 pence, which is 10% of that cost. Most people in London don't have access because they live in flats, terraced houses. They don't have a parking space with domestic energy that they can connect to. So it becomes very, very difficult for people to take the changes that are required to get to this low emission or zero emission driving that we're all aiming for.
Yeah, I'm sure all points that will be put to Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London, who will be with the team on the programme a little bit later in the morning. Fraser Brown, Managing Director at MotorVise car dealership. Thank you so much for your time. Well,